most important to your customer's business right now? What's your top priority, your top 3 lists? And they're all gonna say digital, mobile, next gen, right? All of those are gonna come up. You're exactly right? All these, whether it's retail, whether it's banking, it doesn't matter the industry, you're all getting picked off by these new either fintech companies or any number of these next gen companies that are using this platform, right? As a device,
has
there's
joined
no
the
brick and
conference.
mortar, there's no anything, right? They all use their apps on their iPhone. But these digital next gen platforms, they only account for, let's say, 1% of the revenue, or of what that company is going to be able to do this coming year. It's not a massive amount. It's not a massive amount of revenue for us, for that matter. The importance of this, though, is everybody's talking about digital. Who cares about digital? CFOs and CEOs, right? So even though it's only 1%, these guys are paying attention to it. They all are on the boards and on the leadership committees of every one of these digital mobile engagements that they have going on. Why do you care, Mr. Wipro, Mr. SI? You care because all of these apps, whether it's these fintech companies or these little guys that are trying to pick you off, they're all developed on Pivotal Cloud Foundry. That's what Pivotal is, right? So PCF plays squarely in this space. The nice thing about Pivotal Cloud Foundry, we don't have services. We don't have a services organization. We don't want to build a services organization. We farm the services out, right? So we're looking for people like Wipro to deliver the services. And what does Wipro care about, right? Wipro cares about services. They want services opportunities. And so this is an opportunity, Wipro, Mr. Wipro, if you scale up and start to train your people on Pivotal Cloud Foundry, our 5,000 strong people are selling the crap out of Pivotal. We're selling Pivotal Cloud Foundry like crazy. 72% of the startups in Silicon Valley, they use Pivotal Cloud Foundry. All the banks, all the retail, everybody who looks to do a digital mobile next-gen app, they're coming to us because they want the same user experience that these fintech and startups are giving them, right? So the big banks, they're all working with this right now. They want that same interface, the same user experience. We're selling the crap out of it. This is services dollars for you guys, right? That we're happy to give it to you. You just have to train your guys. And why do you care about that? Because you're going to get thought leadership from the CFO and CEO. These guys are going to look at Wipro the next time a refresh comes up and says, man, they really did a great job in that digital mobile app that we're running. I'm going to give them a chance to do something else for me, right? The other piece of it is, let's say it's not a Wipro account. Let's say it's either it is a Wipro account or it's not a Wipro account, but refreshes come up all the time and they get recompeted. This is going to give them the ability to look at the legacy platform, right? So the difference between Wipro, let's say, who if this is their current customer, and one of these fintech or startups, these guys have access. So if this is digital, this is legacy, right? So the legacy is probably 89%. I didn't look at my board, but it's 89%, let's say, of the data and of the information lies on the legacy platform. Well, all these new guys and startups, they don't have access to this data, right? This is their IP. This is this company's, this CFO, CEO's IP. Well, Wipro's already managing this. It's their account today. They have access to this data. The IP that they have is their data. The new startups and the new fintech guys, they don't get this. They have oceans of data on the internet. They don't get this. They don't get to know about this particular customer's, doesn't matter who we want to talk about, Campbell Soup or Corning or anybody else, right? They don't have access to that data. Only Wipro does and that customer. So they get access into this particular data, whether it's their own customer or not. Let's just assume for a minute it's an IBM customer or it's an HP customer. it's an opportunity for Wipro to get their eyes on the rest of the landscape that they want to take over when the next refresh comes up, right? So if they do a good job in this space, they then say to the CEO and CFO, hey, Mr. CFO, CEO, I think there's some things that we learned over here and some things that we learned while we were doing this, that we've got an opportunity to look at your entire landscape. We've got an offering which is an application portfolio, part of our application portfolio that defines where workloads should reside. Maybe some more of your workloads should go into this digital space. Maybe some more of your apps and infrastructure that you're working on today shouldn't reside in the legacy. Maybe it should. We've got an opportunity to do I'm just going to call it application assessment or a workload assessment. We can figure out what to call it. But for our point of view, this is adaptivity. So I don't want to use the product name, but in this room, it's adaptivity. And so, hey, Mr. CEO, Mr. CFO, Mr. whoever, line of business, what this does is it takes the workload characteristics from the business unit, so it incorporates again, for your language in the room, the vertical space. For these guys, the BUs, but it gets us into the verticals, which we really want to get into, right? Takes the characteristics of that workload and what the BUs are trying to accomplish, and then does it and automates the process of where that workload should reside. Should it sit in the cloud? What's this number need to be, 10%? Should it sit in the cloud? Should it reside and stay where it is on the legacy environment? Is there something you haven't looked at in however many months or years, 9 months or a year, that you could build an active archive around? Which obviously we have products and offerings for active archives, right? Which again, all of this now becomes readable by your digital data lake that you just created. So we can do an assessment, it takes 2 weeks, we give you the blueprint, are you interested? Yes, I am. Is it intrusive? No, it's not. We do it offline? Great, let's do that. Perfect. So we end up getting an adaptivity for our language, but application engagement out of this. We're going to meet a whole bunch of new people. We're going to get the keys to the kingdom on where everything should reside. And these guys are starting to say, I didn't know you guys could do this. Yeah, probably not. Well, if we do one of these assessments, the output that we want, of course, is the underlying infrastructure. So where is our traditional stuff that they would normally play in? Okay, well, in the legacy environment, if they decide to stay here, we got some great, let's just call products for a minute, but we've got vBlocks, we've got hyperconverged, we've got all kinds of products in this space. We've got XIO, we've got whatever, Flash. If it's in the cloud space, right? If these apps and this workload decides to reside in the cloud, great. We have products for the cloud. We have Isilon, we have ECS, we have HCO, we have all kinds of stuff in this space for any one of these offerings, including out to here. So you've rebuilt your, I'm fast tracking for the sake of time here, but we've rebuilt your entire environment, Mr. CEO, Mr. CIO, now you've got cloud, you've got next gen, mobile, digital. By the way, underneath here we've got our whole Dell compute portfolio, right? So I have to update this to include the Dell stack and everybody else. If there are other pieces you want to add to this, pile on. But now we built this new infrastructure for you. You've got active archive, you've got your legacy, and by the way, the money you save over here in taking tier 1 stuff off the legacy environment into your active archive, you reinvest to move the digital next-gen apps, the apps that are on the legacy environment that said it could be cloud ready, could be cloud and mobile ready. So you take the savings you make over here, invest that to move, right? So the whole thing is self-funded. Now you got a new architecture, a new infrastructure. You've got a digital platform you didn't have before. You've got a cloud platform you didn't have before. You've got an active archive, and you still got some legacy. What does your organization need to look like, Mr. CIO? Gee, that's a good question. I don't know. How can you help me? You guys did the stores. We have an HR module. We have a whole HR program, which I talked to you guys about yesterday. This HR module, Mr. CIO, is going to tell you how many of each people you need and what those skill sets need to look like in each of these blocks. It's also going to look at your existing employee base. Hey, I've got 32 legacy guys. They're going to look at the profile of those legacy guys based on the experience that they have and the skill sets of people that either make it or don't. And they're going to say, okay, these 10 legacy guys, our experience says they're not going to make it in the next wave. Get rid of those guys. Hire 10 of these new millennials, and you need this type of a resume and this type of workload, this type of skill set for these millennials to hire. You need this many cloud guys. You need this many, right? And so these guys will retrain, but you only need to keep these 15 guys because they're the only guys who look like they're going to make it in the next wave, in the next world, right? This is the best kept secret at EMC. I don't think anybody knows about this HR module, right? I had ISG in it, if you guys know ISG. So ISG, they do all the, they're an advisory firm, so they do all the bids. When somebody comes out with a massive RFP, 50% of those RFPs, it's ISG who's managing that workload. They bought TPS, if you guys know TPS historically, right? So these guys came in and said, we do the majority of this HR work. This is what we do. This is one of the things that we offer. And we don't do it as well as you guys do. You guys have, because we presented it to them. We have 4 different tracks. So we only do 2 of these tracks. And even the 2 that we do, we don't do as well as you do. So they're white labeling our HR module from us. When they win HR deals, they hire our guys to deliver, right? So we have a whole HR piece under here. HR module that people don't know about, and we have an incredibly high hit rate. We have like a 95% hit rate on this thing. When we talk to CIOs, they buy it because they don't know. They don't know what their organization should look like. They're struggling with this. So, I mean, I could go on, but in short, the message is this. Digital transformation, application transformation, infra transformation, HR transformation. Get the idea? All that, obviously money for us, but guess what it is for them, for Wipro? It's friggin' decades worth of services. It's decades worth of services. That's what they care about. They get to do a digital transformation, they get to do an application transformation, they get to do an infrastructure transformation, and they get to do an HR transformation. It's a crap load of services for them. That's the story. And these guys are like, holy shit, I didn't know. I just thought EMC was here. I thought Dell EMC played in this. Like, I didn't know you guys did this. I had no idea you did this. I didn't know you have HR. I didn't see how the whole thing fit together. And so it seems to differentiate us right away. They stopped talking about NetApp, and they stopped talking about HDS, and they stopped talking about Nutanix. Hey, we got Nutanix. We got HDS, we got NetApp, we got Nexenta, we got everything. We got it all in this little piece, but that's not what we do. We do all this, right? This is the differentiator. At the end of the day, like I said at the beginning, we got to move a lot of iron.
Has joined
how are you
the
going to move
conference.
iron? Not by talking about iron. Trust me. That's not how you do it, right? You got to talk about all of this. Why do we want to do business with EMC? What's in it for me, the SI? Again, decades worth. That's what's in it for you guys. There you go. That's what that was meant to